Okay, I don't know if I
Well,
have
welcome
control.
to the ninth online
All right,
symposium by Atlantic International University, AIU.
all right.
The theme of this symposium is My Legacy to Future Generations.
Right.
And our next presenter is going to be Antonio Vita. Let's go ahead and make you a presenter.
All right.
You might already be a presenter, I think. There you are.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know. I can't share the screen, so I don't know.
There, now I think you can share the screen.
All right, let me.
The tutor helping us, Diana Salazar, is really efficient. I thought she might have got you already.
Okay. Let me try to.
So everybody can chat now, correct?
Okay. Now I don't know if you are.
Everybody can chat now.
I don't know if you guys can see.
By the way, do I need to re-upload the presentation from Carl Clark so people can download it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So Antonio Vita, go ahead with your presentation and I'll go ahead and take care of some things in chat.
All right, Clark. Thank you very much, Clark, for that opportunity.
Oh, by the way, give us an idea of who you are, where you're from.
All right, I'm Antonio. I'm from Angola. I'm Antonio Vita. I work in the bank. Previously, I work in an oil and gas company in the country. So as you know, my country is rich in oil, but of course, as most of the country in Africa are not rich indeed. In fact, just potentially rich. We are that not represent what we have in natural resources. So that's why I really appreciate that invitation from the AIU to share some ideas in my point of view in terms of the legacy. Well, my presentation is a bit different. Of course, as economist, I should come here with the graphics, charts and tables and to show inflections and things like that. But instead, I just came here with some kind of image and picture that maybe will grab your attention about what we're going to talk next. Of course, when we talk about legacy, this is a very serious situation because most of people think about legacy is something about him, but it's not. Most of in my opinion, in my point of view, legacy is more about others than about us. So I want to start with this news. Normally, every day when we wake up, we listen to the radio, the TV, previous news. There's something about the African people that risking their lives to cross the board to go to Europe for their dreams because they don't want to raise their kids, their family in the condition they have in Africa. So they are running to Europe. So sometimes this is a very dangerous situation because they have to cross the ocean in a very bad conditions. So I just brought 3 news here. 43 African migrants died in the first shipyard. This was this year. And about 60 migrants drowned in front of Libyan coast this year. And the number of migrants killed at sea trying to reach Europe just doubled from January to this point as we speak. I mean, this is for me, it's something to really call my attention because I know some people, even in Africa, that's make me sad sometimes. Just listen to this and don't say nothing to them. For me, the point starts here. And you can see here in this image, there are African people being, to be rescued for a situation that was trying to reach Europe. Every day we wake up with this kind of news. And that's why when I received that invitation to talk about the legacy, I just thought, okay, this is a chance to share some ideas with the other people, other students. Maybe we at our own country, maybe we will be starting doing something. As I said at the beginning, legacy is much more about others than about ourselves. For me, it's about the impacts you can have to in someone's life, and that impact in someone is not when is your family or is your friends, is when someone that is nothing to do with you, or foreign or just neighbor or something that no one that can just pay you back what you are doing to him. That impact, that's what I said, positive impact, because we can have a negative impact in other people's life. So for me, in this word, we are here because we have some purpose. Some purpose in this word is to have a positive impact in other people's life. That's why I just brought this next page. What impact are you having in your country? What I'm saying this, because when I was just preparing my final thesis for the doctoral degree, I met a lot of friends and people from different countries, and most of them was more thinking about succeeding in terms of economically, have money when they go back to the country. And there are some that was even not thinking about go back to the country, that stayed to try something in Europe or in America. This is something really concerned for me, because if someone, whether rich or poor, breathes better because of what you are doing, for me, this is what we can call legacy. Or if someone, white or black, can live peacefully without any discrimination. I just arrived a minute from London. Because what you are doing, this is the essence of legacy. I mean, legacy is if you are giving a very positive energy around the place you are in other people's lives, this is the beginning of legacy. And we, all the people, just understood what happened in America when George Floyd died. And people were saying like, oh, this is a very sad situation. And there was a big movement around the world, people talking about the impact, negative impact that the death of George Floyd. But I was visiting America for a long time, and I was seeing this. And when those things happened, I said, only now? It was too late. And this is something that we have to reflect seriously. And let me tell you, this is a very important issue we have to address here, because nobody is better than you, as President Biden normally said, but you're better than nobody. Despite you being from different family, or from royal family, or from rich family, or from different color, of different race, or different culture, doesn't make you more important than other folks that are not at the same culture or the same race. This is something that people don't think about most of the time. But let me remind in the next page what Martin Luther King would say. Because of what I was seeing during this time, people make silence, especially in Africa. People make, they in front of injustice, they just stay silent. This is betrayal, folks. We cannot just stay silent when we are seeing someone not being treated properly, or someone not being fair with someone, whether your family or friends or not, and you just stay silent. We have to do our part, and our part is to have that positive impact on those people's life. We see what is going on in Africa. Dr. Clark, I mean, fantastic presentation. Thank you very much. And just mention that. I mean, in Africa, we see the leaders that they are running the country for a long time. The rich country, with the most natural resource, I mean, rich country, you can say. And after 20 years, 15 years, 30 years, they are just looking for the help in another country in Europe or in America. What's wrong with the African people? What's wrong with the African leaders? I mean, this is something that we have to think about. I said, look, I will not stay silent in front of this because I see my people outside my neighborhood. I see people outside of the place where I'm living. They are suffering. So I cannot just stay silent and say, look, my life, my family, we are all good. And I don't care about the others. That's not a legacy. So we have to think about, look, when we are in the face of something that injustice, we have to act immediately. And most of people can say, I mean, this is nothing to do with me. I don't care. But of course, because of this, we are in this world, we are now seeing that if we say, I don't care, the impact will reach you. We say with the COVID, what happens around the world. I mean, most of countries will say, I don't care. This is not, no, it's not here. This is in China. Now they are realized that, of course, that was my business too. So I cannot stay silent when I see people treating other people badly, unfairly, and we just say, okay, this is not my business. That's why we move on to the next page. For me, to all of you, that is because of the essence of legacy. So that student, my friends I met at AIU and other friends, students in London, in the UK. So all of you who decided to improve your knowledge by continuing your studies, whether at AIU or in other corner of the world, I mean, listen, go back to your country and trying to make your people better. I mean, when I say better life, because just saying that Africa is rich, as Mr. Clark mentioned a few minutes ago, I would say Africa is rich. We have natural resource. For me, that means nothing. For me, rich means fact, means reality, means impact on people's life. I mean, just to say we are rich, this is nothing. People don't want to hear that. People want to see the impacts on their life, and they will start and say, okay, now we are rich. Look at what is going on in Dubai, in Singapore, and in other countries. In 20 years or 40 years max, the country changed completely. What's wrong with Africa? Look the next page. I don't know if you all can see here. I mean, most of leaders in Africa, when they are ruling the country, they took the money from, I mean, this is really painful. They take the money from the country and then trying to put the money outside of the country in other banks in Europe and in America, in other paradise. And the country stay poor because he's just thinking on himself. The natural resource that Africa have, for me, it's enough for everyone. We can make every people lives better. We don't need that mindset. Mr. Clark was saying, I was like thinking like, what is going on? What kind of mindset is this? The natural resource is really enough. And people just prefer to go out and stock the money outside. And when they died, those banks just kept the money, or sometimes they give back to us, to African country as a loan. This is unbelievable. And guys, if you guys student, some of you have important position in your country, please don't allow that to happen. We have to stop that. We have to do something, because this is the reasons, because our families, our friends are risking their lives to cross the ocean to Europe because of this, because we are just stay silent. We are allowing all this to happen. Please don't do that. As a student, for me, we are only there at the AIU or other university because we want to make the world better for everyone, not just for someone, some folks, for everyone. And my country has to be better for everyone, not just for some. All right, and this is the message I brought to this presentation. To resume this, I brought 4 messages to different entity. One from the student and people of Africa, another ones from international organization like FMI and the World Bank, another for African leaders and Africa students, and at the end for a message for AIU, which I want to present. So first of all, I want to go to the next page with the first message, which is to the student and to the people of Africa. Leandro Carnal is a Brazilian philosopher. He used to say that people turns out being dishonest when its country is only ruled by the corrupt. Or some people just say, okay, the inverse is true. And let me just think about this is really what happens. Let's see what's going on in Africa. We, the people, we're trying to be dishonest because the guys which are ruling the country are even worse. And what we do, some stay silent, the other ones just say, okay, this is all done. I have to do my part as well. And I will be dishonest, I will to be corrupt, I will ask money, I will go to the street and do things better with no ethics because, I mean, the presidents or the guys in the government are doing the same. This is the tendency in Africa. Some of them because of the fear, because they don't want to confront the government's politics, and they just accept that. But let me tell you, at this point, at this stage, the stake is really high. Africa, we cannot accept again people crossing the border, crossing the ocean in the very, very bad condition to seek something in Europe or in America. So I mean, fear must disappear. Fear is not options. And we must choose to confront those people who are ruling the country, because doing this, we are trying to unite all the people, all the nation in one direction. So for my opinion is we have to stand a strong message to the government that they say, look, we, the youth, we are really the greatest health the country can have. The rich, I mean, if we want to take advantage of the young people, try to invest them and let them be creative, do themselves. We see what happened again in Singapore and other countries, or look at what happens in the Rwanda. There are young people there that are doing these transformations, and people are living better. So it's possible. This is the first message to the African people. I mean, the second message is to African leaders. For me, as I used to say, loyalty is a consequence of leadership, and leadership is a touchdown of competence. Most of the problems of leadership in Africa is competence. They don't have competence to be in that position, but because we have a corrupted place and things like that happens. Because as Mandela said, greed and the poverty are 2 strong ingredients to disturb a social peace. And that's true, because when those people in Africa have a power or have a good position, the first thing that comes to their mind is, I'm going to get rich. I will steal money. So it's my time. Normally people in Africa say, now it's my time. It's my time to get rich. It's my time to steal the money. And it's my time to. So this is something really painful when we see that happens. So to the African leaders, look, listen, to stay in office means to serve. And we cannot just allow those people, that's few people, to control the country and to steal the resource steal the wealth of the country for just for their own benefit or the benefit for their own family. And I tell you, it may take time, but you will be accountable one day, because when I see people dying because of lack of food or water, or they don't have shelter because of what you are doing, I mean, this is a very bad situation to be in the future, because that future will be disgraced. We are talking about people's life. It's a grace when someone's give you the control of their life. This is a grace because you have to treat them, I mean, with all decency possible. So by seeing this, I'm really concerned about the African leaders, because few of them are changing the mindset, but the majority just keep saying, look, I'm gonna get rich, and that's it. So my message to you folks is we have to change now, because your people in the Easter will judge you. You will be accountable. You will not have a peaceable retire because of what you are doing to your people. And this is my third message, is come before this image, because I believe that to be in position to rule a country, or to be a leader, or even the company, or be a leader in your community, is a combination of a strategy and character. But the most important between these two is a character. All right. I just prefer to have a president with a character than the president with the strategy, with a good strategy. I don't care with the strategy. I mean, if someone have character, he will find out a good strategy to run the country. So I just prefer that. Because I'm putting this image here is because I believe that most of the African leaders are just influenced by international organization or international country that are trying to make this kind of management not in the right way, because they just think in their position. So that's why the third message is to international organization. Look at the picture to the FMI. What, I mean, this is not me, all right? This is the records. Just check every source you want. You will see the record. You will see the information. All right. The most of a country that I'm not. Let me be clear. I'm not against FMI intervention in a country, but the records are clear. Just check most of the country. They are trying to do something in Africa. This is a disgrace. People are suffering. I mean, do you call that? I mean, helping African country by doing this? Let me tell you, the document, the previous document has concluded that the inequality persists in Africa due to the absence of International Monetary Fund policy to combat it, because most of that policies they have to implement normally go against the interest of their own interests. That's why they will not do what go against their own interests. They will continue to do what go, in their favor, even what the price is, children that will die and people will cross the border to the ocean to go to Europe. They don't care, because all those politics to go against their own interests. So we stay silent, and we are just look at all these things happen, and we are just, this is betrayal. We cannot just stay silent. We are really tired of business as usual. All those organizations just go to Africa and say, look, I will help you. After 4, 5, 10 years, the country get worse. What kind of help is this? What kind of help is that? I want you guys just to reflect with me. The next page shows exactly what happened when the FMI go to Africa or to other country. Look, this is a baby view where we call the users, and the stakeholders is the FMI. All right. They might look at this toy and say, look, this is a fantastic toy, it is beautiful. But the user, which is the African country, they look at what they view from the users and the view from the FMI. This is exactly what is going on in around the African countries when all these international organizations are trying to put their hand. All right. So keep in mind that, I mean, never those country will go against their policy because they will put their country first. They will not put Africa first. Just keep in mind that. I'm not just saying they're bad guys, they're good guys. No, I'm just saying, look, this is have two sides. We don't have only one side. And look at the view from the users, which they're African, and look at the view from the international organization, which are the stakeholders. Completely different understanding. This is exactly what is going on. And we have to reflect about what's wrong with this. All right. And of course, this is the data just to show and to give more strong information that the International Monetary Fund is what they are doing. They stick with the country for 19 years, 13 years, 20 years, just to stay with them, still paying with a high interest. All right, because those countries, when they accept that intervention from International Monetary Fund and other organization, I mean, this is a very serious situation because I'm talking about my grandson and the grandson of my grandson. This is a long period. And all those people will just keep paying. This is unacceptable, guys. This is something unacceptable. Well, moving on to the next page, this is show exactly, again, what they are trying to do. And that's why I said this is becoming unbecoming, all right? Because this is unacceptable. We cannot continue to accept that kind of intervention. Have to make a balance. Okay, after 2, 3, 4 years, if you don't see improvement in the people's life, I mean, let me be clear on that point. I'm an economist, and let me be clear on that point. When people say, look, we are doing great job, and look the price and look the inflation, all this for me only have importance when have impact on the people's lives. You have to ask people what is the results of those policies coming from international organization in Africa. Ask the people and they will say, don't ask the politics because those guys are in the same, I mean, don't ask the politics. I mean, if the politics, the politician, if the politics from International Monetary Fund is going well, of course they will say, yeah, of course, because they signed a contract and they are still paying interest. Ask the people who live in that country the results. This is a good way to see if we are having a good impact or not. All right. So again, the next page just have that same importance because the understanding most of people have, maybe we in this room, is that when we are talking about democracy or corruption or something like good, that idea of democracy belongs to the international organization or the G7 country. All right, like they have the right definition of democracy. We in Africa, we don't have like like democracy depends or belongs to them. It is not true because for the international organization, if you want to see really a democracy in Africa, you have to be honest with yourself as well. You said, look, we are not being fair with those people. We are not being fair with those countries. We have to be honest with ourselves and the result will change. And for me, this is the pretty luxury of the democracy. Because just talking about democracy and doing the opposite in Africa, I mean, this is a kind of situation that will turn out countries be worse than even before. This is, I mean, we are trying to talk about legacy. Look that example I just at the hand. the French parliament just adopted a law under which French hospitals will no longer receive African presidents for medical treatment. Well, this is a good way to start. Because if you are an international organization, you receive money from corruptions, all right, you are part of this. And you are just come out and say, look, in Africa, the people, the leaders are corrupt, they have no democracy. You are talking about yourselves as well. Because we have to do something. If you just say, as the French parliament, I don't know if they have already decided, if the parliament decided, look, African leaders will not be as allowed in this place for hospital treatment. What they have to do, they will create conditions in their own country. Because health is important not just for the people, even for the president or for the family or the people of the parliament. So health is important for everyone, not just for him. So this is something that I just gave 2 years ago an interview in a very important magazine in the country, which I was suggesting the president exactly this, just to create a law that just to do not allow people who manage public funds to take care of their health outside of the country or in a private hospital in the country. They have to use public services, hospital, even education, they have to use the public service. And I just mentioned that in the space of 5-10 years, the education and health systems will change dramatically to the better. So who will benefit to that? The people. So we have to think about this. So when the international organizations just talk about, okay, we will do something, we have to show exactly what we're going to do. As the French parliament is giving the first step, I agree completely with this. Because as Margaret Thatcher said, democracy is not a system designed to ensure that the best are elected, but rather to prevent the bad guys from staying forever. This is what is going on in Africa. Look at what is going on here. If you allow the bad guys to stay there for a long time, of course, democracy will not happen in that place. And this happens, unfortunately, because some international organizations have hand on this. And they even seen kids dying, many people in a bad health condition, they don't care, they just think about money. So that have to change. That's why I said that initiative from AIU was really important, because it is really about others more than just about ourselves, because we are in this world not to make money, not to have conditions, material, all the stuffs will stay here. We are just here in a journey. Okay, as Dr. Clark said, in 15 years, we will no longer be here. So what's the legacy? What's the behavior you will leave to your grandchildren, to your sons, to your daughters? I mean, you have to think about that. Money is not most important. And people say, look, I have to make money. Yeah, but this is not the whole thing. I mean, the most important thing is you are safe if all of us are safe. I'm good if all of us are good. If all of people around me is in good shape, okay, we are safe. Look, and again, see what happened with the COVID. So that's why I want to thank, with the fourth message, to AIU, and using the same message that our minister, Maria do Rosario Teixeira Alves Cerqueira Sambo, it's our Minister of Technology and Innovation of Angola, and Science, of course. And she said, please say to the people behind this project at AIU, don't stop doing what we are doing. This is exactly because we are seeing the impact. I've received many calls from the student from Angola and other country in Africa just called me and said, what can I do to make my country better? And normally I share with them some ideas and said, look, This is a good, and this is a good step to have that kind of thinking. This is good, and we have to do that. And for me, what AIU is trying to do, maybe we are not seeing physically, we cannot touch the positive impact, but in the future, we will be having more than this kind of conversation. We say, look, now we can see that things really change, above all in Africa, because I live in Africa, and what we are seeing here every single day, it's really insane. Because for me, natural resources have to have a direct impact on people's lives. As I said here in the next page, natural impact have to have an impact on people. I mean, you cannot just say we are rich. People have to say we live better. Okay, we have good, we have water, we have shelter, we have sanitation, we have all this. I mean, all the stuff that is like in a chapter or in UNICEF. I mean, Universal Charter of United Nations. I mean, this is kind of stuff that are really other countries don't really think about. Don't have something to eat, or just to have no even have one meal a day. It's only happening in many countries in Africa. And you said you have resource, and this is nothing to do with the condition people have in place. Again, Singapore just took 31 years to change that, and they succeed. So we just to say that the model are there. So we only have to do is just to copy, because the good examples are there. We are not saying the perfect example, right? We are saying the good example are there. Only we have to do is just to copy and try to implement in our country, because they have done that and successfully. Because I visit Singapore many times, and listen, this is a fantastic place to be. My wife once forgot just one bag from Louis Vuitton store, and in the ladies' toilet. After 24 hours, the bag was at the same place with the old stuff inside. This is amazing, guys. And the people were saying, look, here you will find nothing will happen to your stuffs, because people are not crazy to do something better, something bad, because the country create conditions to everyone just to behave properly, to have with the ethics, to the moral way, to have to behave with the good examples to the next generation. That's why the idea for me is, when you are like a celebrity, you have more responsibility, because there are so many people that follow your examples. So you have to be careful about the way you behave, the way you talk, or the way you appear in the TV, because most of people just will follow that kind of behavior. So when you are just a celebrity, you should have more responsibility to have a positive impact, and to leave a good legacy to your next one. So as I said, for me, natural resource have to have a direct relation to the human development. So natural wealth and human development in many countries, particularly in African ones, are at opposite hands. So we see country very rich and people really very poor. And some people don't understand that, because what is normal is, if you talk to one kid or to some young student at university, they will say, look, being rich, having natural resource, it means being in a better position and being better off. So that only happens in other countries, not in Africa. This is something to think about. That's why my legacy here I want to leave is the last page, is more linked with the behavior. As I was saying, when you are a celebrity, if you morally talk, act, and behave, knowing that your peace depends on other people's peace, all right? I only will be in peace if my neighbor are also in peace. If their house are burning for sure I will be in trouble. It's just a question of a time. So to live them universal values and ethical principles in full respect of the principles of the United Nations chapter that can lead them to live in peace with other people, regardless how they look like or where they come from, because the ultimate hand of peace is to create it for others. For me, this is the main idea is we are only here in this world to make other people's lives much better, easier for everyone, not just to make other people's hard to live in this world, because this is a mindset in Africa. Because people in Africa, what I are trying to understand is when my friends or my family is doing well in their life, I tend to be like, don't, you know, that make confusion because I don't like the progress of other people in Africa. This is strange. I should be cheering with my friends when my friend is progressing or my friend is getting better. But in Africa, it's different. People trying to be angry when the people around them are getting better and it is not. And this is the kind of mindset we have to look, sit at home and say, look, I have to change because this is not a good way to act. So my legacy is more about the other people. This is what, to be honest, what I'm trying to do every single day. I'm trying to create positive impact in other people's life. And this, and let me tell you, this is like we have to continue. Okay, we cannot just say, okay, I have done that and this is okay, it's finished. No, we have to do this every single day. Thank you very much, Clark. Thank you guys for, if you have any question, just sorry for just running and not letting anyone just make a question. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Antonio. Your presentation hits hard and it hits high. So well done, well researched, well put together, a lot of good quotes, a lot of good vision here. Let's go to the participants to see what comments and questions we have. Can you close down your presentation so we can see everybody on the screen?
All right, okay. Let me close this.
The first question will come from, oh, Jose. Jose, where did you go? We don't see any hands. So
No.
feel free to raise your hands so we can call on you to ask questions.
Okay, let me just.
Here we go. Michael Hammond, you are first. Michael Hammond?
Yes.
Audi.
Yes. Yeah. Doctor?
Yes.
Yeah, it's already late. We are late here because it is already to 12. to 12 here in Nigeria. So I am Michel Haman Audi.
Okay.
I am a Cameroonian, but living in Nigeria.
All right.
I'm a student of a PhD in environmental policy and regulation.
All right.
Anthony, thank you very much for this presentation. You have touched the heart of the problem. Africa is being faced with. I was reading the day before yesterday, it was stated that in one of the African countries, one of the richest African countries, 80% of the resources are owned by 2% of the population. The rest of the 20% of the resources are for the remaining 98% of the population.
This is
We
painful.
know our, yes, this is alarming. It is shocking.
Yeah.
we have intellectuals, people who think like Tony, good-hearted people, very brilliant minds with good ideas. But since they don't have the resources to express themselves, they cannot put their thoughts into actions.
Yeah.
For me today, what you have said, most of them, many of African intellectuals have been saying, if you read the book titled How Europe Underdeveloped Africa,
Yeah.
you see the pictures you have put in your on your presentations are described in that book. What they call AIDS coming from developed world to Africa is not AIDS. What France sent to Africa, it is less than what we pay for the visa to go to France per year. Just money we pay for visa is high above what France is sending to Africa as aid per year. Today, I think the 21st century is a century of huge challenges. It is also a century of opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what, Anna? Just allow me to say that.
Yes.
Where this is all happening because where those people are in Africa, where they come from our families, all right? They are not people that just fall from the space. They came from our families. That's why my message to the student was, please go back to your country to help your people. Don't just stay there and don't think like my dream is to go to Europe or to US to do something. Look, you have to go back. That's why, I mean, what's the logic of just being in a good schools and good university and be very intelligent, go in a very good place? What's the logic of being at AIU, very good university, and after that, don't have zero impact on your people? Right. I mean, for me, that counts nothing. Being PhD or doctoral at this or that, for me, it's nothing. That meaning of that PhD will be the people that live in your country that will be better off because of that, your PhD.
Yes.
That's the importance of that. I mean, be here like I'm a doctor or I'm this, for me, that's really nothing. For me, most important is I have to create positive impact on my country. That's why I'm just go to abroad to study and to go to the good university to get the knowledge, to improve, and to go back and to implement the models in my country that will make my people better. So that's politics in Africa that are making the deal with the France, as you said, that making a visa like at this level. They came from our family. Most of them just started abroad at US, UK, and in other countries of Europe. So they go back to the country. They are doing the opposite that they should be doing. So my message to you guys is, we have to stop. We can't do that. We can't do that. We have to do differently. We have to create that positive impact on our people, because just to be a doctor is not enough. I don't want it. I don't want to be a doctor like, oh yeah, you see, you finish your doctoral degree. This is, for me, means nothing. But if someone that even I don't know, that knock my door and say, look, you saved my life, or I'm better off, or I got the job because of what we are doing. For me, that's most important, that have that paper that say that you have a degree. So,
okay, Tony, can I conclude? Just to conclude, because it's getting late for many of us in this hemisphere.
Yeah.
The platform, I've talked about the platform created by AIU.
Yeah.
this flat platform, we should take advantage of this platform. I don't know if AIU, Dr. Lambert is listening to me. If
I am
AIU is
definitely
already
listening.
having a think tank, because this symposium is my first symposium anyway. It is so enriching, very, very enriching, and it can serve as a platform for the future, bringing together brains who can put together their minds, their thoughts to better the life of many, many people who are living in abject poverty, those who are living at the margin of existence. When the other presenter was talking about poverty, meaning being unproductive, he is saying this from his own angle. We Africans who know the reality of the rural dwellers, those who live in abject poverty, they don't have any government presence. Schools, they built by themselves. They recruit teachers from among their own children. Water, they have to provide it for themselves. No hospital, no electricity. This person, to be productive, it is difficult. Because if you go to the concept of capitalism, for you to be productive, you need land, you need capital, and you need labor. These people in the rural areas of Africa, they don't have anything. They need a push. The push is not there. So, Dr. Lambert, I thank you immensely for this, and let us use this platform to create a think tank that for the legacy to be something concrete, not only on papers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Thank you.
Antonio, do you have a response to that?
Well, I agree completely with that. And I mean, sometimes I really feel sad because we in Africa, we have very good idea. The problem, as Anna said, sometimes is to make it happens. So normally, even when you listen to the politics, the politicians and the people in the government, they have very good idea, but to turn those ideas into people's lives, the impacts, this is the issue. And yeah, we can start, as Anna said, with just to create that think tank here with the help of AIU. And of course, we can try to visit it very often, that platform, and to try to get information from there.
Okay, let's go on now to the next question is from Fidelis. Anonymly.
Thank you, Dr. Lambert. I salute you, Antonio. For me, you have made a bold statement. Let me say this. Mine is not a question, but it's a comment. What we see in Africa, the system in Africa is repressive, is oppressive. And you have two classes of people in Africa, the rich and the poor. You have a few rich people and the rest people are poor. And that gulf continues to exist. And the rich knows why they have created the gulf and doesn't want that gulf to be filled up. Who you are today is what you did yesterday.
Yes.
Who you will be tomorrow is what you are doing right now. So we do not hold our leaders accountable. Either because we are feeling intimidated or we have decided to keep quiet and die in silence. I want to commend you for this boldness. And again, I want to salute AIU for this opportunity. I mean, like I said earlier, when in the afternoon in Nigeria, now it's almost midnight in Nigeria. When I said I joined this a bit late, but I have remained here. I have sat here, I've listened very carefully and attentively, and I'm taking my notes. I mean, what I have witnessed today is a turning point. And everyone that is here needs to accept this with gratitude. I want to request that AIU try to do this more often. I don't know how long it is done in a year or a quarter or things like that, but let it be something that will be sustained. We're talking about sustainability.
Yeah, let me respond to that. Is that for this symposium, we received 100 presentations. So we're going to do 3 symposiums with those presentations. We usually do just one, but now we're going to do 3. So in 3 weeks, we're going to have another one in Spanish. And in another 3 weeks beyond that, we're going to have another one in English.
Absolutely, so, this is fantastic. Again, like I said, I don't have question for Antonio, because good wine needs no bush. He has hit the nail on the head, and it's a message that all of us will reflect very deeply on.
Thank you.
And see what we make out of it. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you.
I would just say here, if we put together like the presentation from Carl Clark and your presentation, Antonio, and Carl Clark said, you gotta know what to do, how to do it, and you want to do it, right? So you tell us about the corruption, you tell us about the inequalities. What do you do? And how do you do it? We want to do it. This is what, like Fideli says, we need to reflect upon this.
Yeah.
And these are the questions we have to ask. What do we need to do about this? How do we do it? Because we want to do it.
Yeah.
And Antonio, how would you respond to that? Is it clear what needs to be done?
Well, to be honest, Lambert, this is not clear and it's not easy just to give that answer, because I'm just looking to my country and trying to respond to that. Let me say, like, this is something that we will try to get the response, not in one shot, but every day we'll get a bit more idea or sensibility of what we have to do next, according what the environment we have in the country. Perhaps what I have to do next in my country will be different than, for instance, what Fidelis have to do in Nigeria or in Ghana or other country. So the environment in the country, that counts a lot.
What I would say to all the students present is reflect upon these thoughts and create an assignment. And that assignment allows you to organize your thoughts and develop a plan. Think about developing a plan, what to do about these things, how to do them, and express why you want to do them.
I mean, what I can say, Lambert, for that, yeah, we will think about this. But first, that's why my intention this presentation was to say to everyone is, if we put in mind that the other peoples around me, their peace, their environment depends on my peace also, so I have to do better to make their life easier. So let me act morally, let me be honest. This is the first step, and after that we'll be getting the answer to do that, because the first step is that mindset Clark was saying, is we have to change the way we think in Africa. So we have to think that, like the COVID that taught us, I mean, we are only safe if everybody are safe, not some. So for me, it's the first step is, okay, let me change myself so I will get the right answer to do the next step.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. And it looks like the next question is coming from Lula Mile, given. Go ahead and activate your microphone and let's hear your question or comment.
Yes, thank you very much. I suppose it's a comment, Doug. I wish to concur with the notion that this is quite a good, prepared and researched presentation, to the core. I just wish to say, Antonio, thank you very much for good work well done, my brother.
Thank you.
And once more, also, I want to reinforce, the notion of the point that you make mention of here, that it is important that we realize that education is not only about, creating means with which students will get absorbed into the world of work. The notion of narrow instrumentalism, if you like. And you made it very clear, crystal clear, that for you, when a person has invested in human capital in that fashion by acquiring huge qualification without those qualifications manifesting themselves or translating themselves into social change, they mean nothing to you. Yeah. And I wish to agree with you with that one, because basically I subscribe also to the view that says, fundamentally, the purpose of education is to broaden the intellectual horizons so that people can be able to analyze, interpret, and understand the world in its complexity. Yeah. And what is fundamental, basically, is to be able to address the problems that confront us as mankind, formidable challenges that confront us as mankind. And lastly, my brother, really the point of emphasizing that we have a responsibility. The responsibility lies with us to effect change. Without us taking the necessary initiatives in terms of ensuring that we implement that kind of change that will make the world a better place for us to live currently and also for generations to come. So on that point, I wish to say this was just quite a good presentation. Keep it up, my brother. Thank you so much. Thanks, Doc.
Okay, now we go on to Amechi Onyenokwe. Amechi Onyenokwe.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lambert. I don't have a question. I just want to contribute to what the presentation of Mr. Professor Antonio presented earlier on. I want to say thank you very much, Professor Antonio. You really did hit the nail at the head, and that was a very brilliant presentation and well-researched presentation. I want to say thank you very much for actually giving a full detail of the problems that we're facing in Africa and most part of the world as well. In terms of finding solutions and going about how we're going to do it and what is expected of us, especially for those of us who are far from home. I'm actually from Nigeria, but I live in the Caribbean. I'm a student of the AIU. Dr. Lambert have been a great help to me in terms of my studies and everything. And I want to say thank you to AIU for actually organizing this symposium. I think this, to me, this is going to go a long way, and I pray that you guys will continue with this symposium as time goes on. The problem with Africa, actually, especially in Nigeria, we have great minds who could be able to, execute this whole, making the country a better place and, finding the solutions to whatever problems we have. And I believe most of the elders here in this symposium will agree with me that we actually are the cause of what is actually happening in Nigeria. or in Africa.
Yep.
Because, a lot of brain drain have been going on. A lot of professionals have been going abroad. And, some don't want to come back home because of the current situation that is happening or whatever is happening right now at home. People are scared to go back home because of this whole crisis, Boko Haram, kidnapping and stuff. So that alone is scary, It's sad that you have to be scared of your own country because of, this madness that's going on right now. And that alone is devastating as well. I think first of all, I think what we need to do is actually try to, take out the bad apples or take away the bad eggs. Because to be honest, Africa is a country that deals with tradition, ethics, so it's going to be hard to actually, come up with a force that will be able to, just, wipe down everything and start all over again. So I think the best thing to do is, maybe as time goes on, we get more clearer picture and more clearer idea from this symposium on how to go about it. I think that's my contribution, and I think that's going to go a long way. With the great minds we have here, if we all come together, we're going to achieve a lot. I think that's the best comment I could come up with or idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Amici.
Thank you, Amici. Andrew Hicks, you are next. And it looks like Samuel is next. And Samuel may ask the last question, or Emem.
Okay.
I think after Emem will ask the last question, and then we'll be done.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Lambert. And I want to acknowledge the profound value in the contributions of our presenter, Dr. Vita. But I recognize that you have placed in the domain of your discussion what I would refer to as a micro-macro analysis. But you seem to have a stronger tendency towards the macro analysis of poverty. And I agree with your explanations. Notwithstanding, I would also like to acknowledge that sociologist Oscar Lewis offered in his book, The Children of Sisyphus, that poverty is best understood if it is explained culturally. And in his thesis, he argues fundamentally that in the world that we live, it is the poor that sustains the rich. And they do so because of the exorbitant forms of spending. It is reasonable to make a further distinction that poverty is relative, and there may be absolute or relative forms of poverty. Sociologist John Galton, in his analysis of structural violence, offered the explanation and the acknowledgement that corruption and poverty are cultural manifestations of structural violence, rendering the poor much poorer. Conventional economics, in principle, advocates that spending is a negative form of economic behavior and is therefore less progressive. On the other hand, I have some disagreement with the last perspective. And I think many of the poor people become entrapped in that in order to profess socioculturally and socioeconomically to deflect their real experience of poverty, engage in spendthrift type of behavior. And as such, they're unable to accumulate. And so in my work in the community and in the practice of education, I encourage community members and students to engage in acts of savings. I encourage them to at least make the effort to save 10% of all forms of income that they receive in order to accumulate, to begin the process of wealth accumulation. Because we cannot spend all of our income. And this is why Oscar Lewis makes the point that poverty can be best understood and overcome if it is explained culturally. Having said that, I also want to acknowledge that sociologist Eugene Habermas points to the fact that the locus of change is the individual. And so while we may engage in the macro level analysis, it is equally important to emphasize on what can be done at the micro level. And so in addition to encouraging people to engage in at least 10% savings, if you get $1, try to save 10 cents. If you get $1,000, try to save $100 out of it. People can also engage in acts like family planning so that we can manage our economies of scale in our respective families so that we can better distribute the limited resources that we have and so provide the generations that we nurture with a better opportunity compared to our opportunity. Having said that, I want to pose this question. What aspects of our microculture would you recommend that we change apart from those two that I've identified in order to overcome the prevailing circumstances of our poverty in Africa and elsewhere in the world, including the Caribbean, the region from which I hail? Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Andre. Well, Lambert, if you allow me, I can just share 1 minute to respond just to comment on that.
Sure.
Yeah, this is interesting, to be honest. And just starting from the end, one of the things that in culture in Africa that we have to think about is the idea of, I know people don't like to hear that, is the number of child the couple, for instance, have to have. Normally in Africa, the family, if you get engaged or you get married, people in the family will ask you child every single day. I mean, if you have one, they will ask for the second and the third and fourth, without even knowing if you have economic conditions to support those child. My understanding is nobody's born to suffer in this world. We cannot just bring on child in this world because we are trying to be greedy, we the adults, because we cannot just bring child without even knowing where we have get the conditions, economic condition to support them, to give them a decent house, a decent schools, a decent shelter. All this counts. But in Africa, culturally, people don't care about this. People just make child, all right? And this is culturally. This is different than we see in Europe or in America. I mean, people don't, even before making a child, they make counts. They go to the table and see if they have condition to bring on a baby. In Africa, you know, doesn't happen. This is the first thing. The second things in Africa, we have a lot of bad. I don't want to call bad culture because maybe people don't make me wrong. I don't want to call bad culture, but we have some many things that we have to think about. One of them, for instance, is that girls that have to be mutilated in some certain age. This is culturally. I don't understand what kind of culture is this. And the adults that get married, the child like 8 years old, 9 years old, there are a certain culture of the Africa it's allowed because this is a part of a culture. So
Child bride.
it means that, of course, we have a lot of things happening in Africa, and we can say this, and we just justify that, okay, this is our culture. And the arguments here was almost saying that we are poor because this is our culture. We love to be poor. Guys, please. Nobody's born to suffer. Nobody is born to come to this world to be poor, because this is a part of our culture. Because I have to understand suffering, what my culture means. In Africa, as some people used to say, if you have some factory in the village, they will just eliminate the factory, and they will create the charge in that place, and they will just asking God to give them a job. This is strange. If you have factory in your community, you have to make it work. And that factor will give employment to most of the young people of that village. In Africa, they do the opposite. They just close this, will turn the factor into the charge, and they will just ask God to give them a job. This is insane. This is part of our culture. We can see the number of charge in Africa is astonishing. So I used to have to say the number of charge in one country is exactly the sign of poverty, because people believe that God will give them everything. We don't need to work. We don't need to get back to work. We can make our child, even if you don't have to, you don't know what to eat, or we don't have food to support our kids. We're still making child, we're still making kids, because God will help us. Because it's our culture.
Yes.
Please. This kind of mindset, I don't want to call it bad culture. We have to stop. Because if I am African, if I decided to make another baby, I have to understand that the lifestyle of those one who are all of the babies or the kids I already have will decrease, because will be more tough. There want more people in home. I have to spend more. So the conditions will decrease. We have to understand that this is not magic. This is not, okay, let's make a baby because it's a part of a culture to have many peoples. Okay, this is Africa and we work like that. No, we only decide to make another baby or another child if we have economic conditions. But most of the country said, okay, this is a culture. So I don't want to use that word to say, look, in Africa, we love to suffer and we love poverty. I don't want to say that, because this is not true. The only thing is, because we don't have access to that knowledge that you are searching at AIU or other institution, academic institution or other university, because most of people in Africa don't have the access to that information. That's why they just keep acting like that. And when you have access to those information, that you understand that if I want to make my family prosper, if I want to give better conditions, I have to make a calculation about how am I going to do that with my kids. If I make one, two, three, you have to decide with your wife. This is a very democratic decision. You have to decide and say, look, how many kids we will have. It's not just kind of because your mom is asking more baby or someone in the family asking more baby. So that kind of, there's some culture in Africa that we have to, I mean, you have to stop. We have, I'm not saying they're bad culture, but I respect, but I mean, we have to stop that, because the only guarantee we have in this world is change. I don't want to say, look, this is my culture, I don't want to change. No, change is something that inevitable. This will happen whether we like or not. So we have to think about it.
Thank you.
We will now go to Samuel Omawaye.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Lambert, and also the AIU community for organizing this symposium. My name is Samuel Omawaye, doctorate in business administration student. And also thank you, Antonio, for this wonderful presentation. Without wasting much of our time, because the time is fast spent, I would just like to comment on three things. Number one is taking Nigeria, my country, as an example, looking down the history lane. One of the problems I think I'm looking at is there's always this popular saying that once the foundation is having an issue, the structure on top is likely to collapse. So like what binds a country together, or makes a country is the constitution. And if the constitution is having some kind of, is not actually rendering what it's supposed to render in terms of welfare and good governance, and that means there should be a kind of a rethink about that constitution. Like in Nigeria, we've had series of debates and recommendations on that, what is binding the country together, because Nigeria being a diverse country of different tribes, is having that issue for over some time now. And it's not new in the news about the security challenges we're having. And from my own perspective, I think what makes a country in terms of constitutions, if it's not actually working, then that means that it needs to be a kind of a restructure or reamendment to that kind of what pulls the country together, because that is the foundation of the country. And going back to the populace, the people of the country themselves, if an employee, if an employer, an employer is taking bribe from an employee, I don't know that, I'm not too sure that kind of a setup can last for long. There is this kind of a vote buying, vote selling in some of the elections we had in the country. And it has turned to be a kind of a trade by barter, a business venture. And no, I would not expect anything meaningful from where the people do not have that grip and cannot hold the people in authority to accountability when they are in office. Although there are some drives going on about that at the moment, but I believe one thing, that if the people like in Nigeria, my country, if we should stop selling votes in exchange for meager things. And you don't expect somebody who has spent so much money in running an election, and by the time he got to that position, he would like to get the money back. So we are talking about the visionaries. Are we actually getting visionary leaders in place? Antonio made mention about Singapore. I've also been to Singapore some times ago, and you can see how a country that was far, far, far back in the 60s was not recognized as a developed economy, now turned to be what we call the country of concrete mountains or concrete jungle, whereby we have a lot of development, and is what we know in the maritime world to be the commercial hub of Asia in terms of maritime, and a warehouse in Asia because of the visionary leaders the country has. So if the constitution is bad and if the electorate are also having fault, then there is not likely to have that visionary leaders in position. And based on that, it will affect all what can make a country a great nation. That's what we're having in Africa now. Look at the educational systems we're having in Africa. I was speaking with some employers of labor sometimes ago here in Nigeria, and they categorically told me that most of the graduates being produced are not employable. So it means the educational system is also in a great shambles, or to some extent, let me say that. And if education, that is one of the priorities in life that can make an individual to attain the height of his potential or her potential is in problem, I don't know what kind of thing should be expected from that kind of a generation. Now we are talking about cultural beliefs and what have you that is a bit backward in terms of how it's affecting human life. It's because of the level of education, I think, to some extent, because if an individual is well educated, he will have seen all the facts of how some of the cultural beliefs and practices are not actually making a meaningful or can add value to somebody's life. So these are just some of the perspectives I see in how we can move the African nation forward. Having visionary leaders, holding our leaders accountable, and also having good educational systems. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Wow, thank you, Samuel. Very good.
Well, Antonio Vita, would you like to respond to that?
Well, maybe to respond and to, since that's maybe the last question, with something that happened to me when I was in Singapore. I was there with my wife one day for a vacation. I was 4 years ago. Yeah, because normally we go there for a while, but the last time was like 3, 4 years ago. And there was a man with the 72 years. It was our driver. His job was just to take us from the hotel to the place of the breakfast, where we took a breakfast. The 72-year-old man. So one day, this man came to me, was singing, was really happy. And I asked him, "Oh, why are you singing? Well, you look happy. What's happened?" And he said to me, "Look, did you hear the preview yesterday? Singapore is a problem of water. And the government just announced that in 100 years, they will be able to transform the water from sea to drinking water." And I said, "Oh, this is a very good news." "Yeah, because it's a very good news." And I said, "But how old are you?" Yeah, he said 72 years. I said, but in 100 years, you'll be no longer around. But you still happy?" He said, "Yeah, I'm happy because the next generation will be better off." And you see the kind of mindset we need. And I just looked to my wife and said, "Look, this is the mindset that in Africa that people will never, never think in that way, because our idea is when we are happy with something, it's something that will bring to you directly benefit, not others or other generations or other peoples. So we have to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Antonio Vita, for your words of wisdom and your stories to make us think about the legacy and the future generations, our life, the future lives, and what we do. Antonio, do you have any more to say that you would want to say?
Well, to be honest, we always have lot things to say because as most of people agree here, this kind of symposium has to be happen very often, and I hope in the next time you just I receive an invitation from, because I have a lot of material, and I think was Andre or someone who said, but my idea was pointed to the poverty, because I did exactly the master's degree in AIU about poverty. This is because this is a kind of almost a legacy we want to share. I mean, we are here not to just to something for ourselves, but to know what we can do for other people. And this is my idea, and this is the idea I'm sharing and try to pass to my kids, my daughter, to my wife, and we all have the same kind of thinking. I mean, we are the material, all this the stuffs by cars and house. This is not important. And get the doctoral degree. This all this will have important if someone's which are not your family or your friends will benefit on that. So it is exactly that. So we have many materials, but of course we have time to share with the friends here and other students next time. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Antonio Vita. And thank you to everybody who stayed around. I know it's late in a lot of parts of the world where you are living. And thank you so much for staying and being inspired to think about the future and to think about your lives and to think about our lives. So thank you, Antonio Vita, for closing the symposium with your wonderful presentation. So at this point in time, we will close the symposium. We've heard some wonderful presentations. Dr. Joshua Babatunde talked about so many things. He gave a long list of all the little things we could do, from visiting a widow who's alone, giving somebody a job, a long list. I put the presentation up so you could download it. And all of the other presenters since the first one have been talking about their lives and how one generation leads to the next, and how one generation gives values and beliefs to the next generation, and how those values and beliefs can change from generation to generation to actually create a better world within the conditions that we're living in. This has been a deep symposium. The presenters have had deep thoughts, deep reflections, and deep insights. Carl Clark had wonderful insights that a lot of you were really inspired by. Like, if you want to change a habit, you have to know what to do, how to do it, and you have to want to do it. And you have to have all three of those in order to be able to change it. You miss one, you're not going to be able to do it. A thought like that is simple, but it's a thought that you can carry with you for the rest of your life. Yeah. And to think, I just have to know what to do, how to do it, and do I want to do it? And when you realize you want to do it, you're on your way. And so, and then Antonio Vita, here at the end, talking about at the macro level, like Andrew Hicks was saying, all these things going on, but you also want to focus in on that micro level of what do you do now? What do you do in your life so that you leave a legacy for the future generations? And so everything is coming together. All of these recordings, all of these presentations have been recorded separately. So if you want to request any one of them, you ask for your tutor, and your tutor will give you the link to watch that recording. So all of these presentations are available, probably tomorrow. So just a wonderful, wonderful time sharing here with everybody. And what more is there to say that we are in this together? We have inspirations together. We're working together. We're thinking together. Take these thoughts, put them into assignments, develop a hypothesis, develop a theory, develop a thinking, develop a plan, and develop a conclusion at the end of your assignment. What are you going to do? Think these things through, and then develop a conclusion. What are you going to do? and then submit it for an assignment, and that becomes part of your legacy. When you do an assignment, that becomes part of your work, your development, to develop your mind and your understanding and your wisdom that you're going to take with you into the future. So keep working on these ideas. And I want to say thank you to all of the tutors that came by today to help out. Right now, Diana Salazar is here helping out. And everybody at AIU who helped out to get the symposium together. Dr. Rosa Hilda Laura, who led the committee to select the presentations. And there was Dr. Ricardo Gonzalez, who was overseeing this whole project. It was his idea to create the theme of My Legacy for Future Generations. He is the provost of the university, wonderful thinker, deep thinker, visionary. And also to Felipe Gomez, who helped put together the flyers and the technical aspects of the whole symposium. And all of the other people who work at AIU to give that flavor, to give that insight, to give that diversity of thought that makes learning so productive. And so thank you all for coming. We are now going to conclude this symposium. My name is Dr. Edward Lambert. And if you want to, you can all unmute your microphones at the same time and say thank you, say bye, say good night, whatever you want to say.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
so much.
Thank you, Dr.
Very inspiring.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, all the co.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you,
AIU
NIU.
staff.
Thank you, all
Good
presenters.
night,
Thank
everyone.
you,
Nice
AIU
time.
community.
Thank you all.
Thank
For
you.
your contribution.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you. It was a very
Wonderful.
presentation. Thank you so